Flooding as a dog behavior modification procedure is pretty much always a terrible idea. Yet, it is incredibly popular in dog TV shows and popular media. It is Jose here from Train Me Please. Let's talk about it. It is a bit sad that if someone goes on YouTube or any other media searching for dog training information, and especially anything that has to do with reactivity and aggression, they are very likely to be shown content that contains flooding procedures. It is sad, but not surprising. In the early 2000s, there was a popular show on NBC called Fear Factor. In it, the participants would confront their greatest fears, such as snakes, rats, or spiders, in full intensity. Whoever lasted the longest in their own particular situation would be the winner. The therapeutic value of these exposures was somewhere between none and incredibly detrimental, but it surely made for some commercially appealing TV content. As for dogs, it is not surprising that many popular shows and online content seem to show magical behavioral transformation in a short amount of time. A dog that is afraid of something is exposed to it in full intensity, and apparently a few minutes later the dog is fine and totally transformed. But is that really what's happening? Well, for starters, those examples can probably be labeled under the large umbrella of flooding, and actually flooding that is being incorrectly applied. In the world of dog training, flooding is often a procedure in which the dog is exposed to a certain stimulus in a way that it triggers a full intensity fear response. Escape and avoidance behaviors are prevented until the fear response stops. Now, think about that for a second. If a dog is afraid of loud noises, a flooding solution could be to expose the dog to those noises in a room where the dog cannot escape until the dog stops showing a fear response to loud noises. If a dog is afraid of water, a flooding solution could be to physically force the dog to be in the water and prevent him from leaving until the dog stops showing a fear response to the water. And now a very unfortunate classic. A dog is afraid of other dogs, and someone will force the dog to be in close proximity to them. Typically, the escape and avoidance behaviors such as barking, growling, and lunging are suppressed with verbal and physical corrections. Eventually, the dog might give up. Those responses will stop, at least initially, and it will appear that the dog has learned to cope with the situation. There are many problems with the application of flooding to dogs. First, there are much better procedures for behavior modification from an ethics and also from an efficacy point of view. More on that later in the video. Second, flooding in dogs is often incorrectly applied when compared to how clinicians would go about it in the rare situations that they opt for this option. For example, if a dog has become afraid of a certain location because of the sound of loud motorcycles going by, that location can become a conditioned stimulus that triggers fear. The dog will try to avoid that location. A flooding procedure would force the dog to be in that location and ensure the absence of the aversive stimulus, in this case the loud motorcycles, until the dog shows no signs of fear. In flooding, there's an initial increase in fear, which is why it is incredibly important that the aversive stimulus is not present. In dog training, usually that requirement is not met, and the dog gets exposure to the scary thing in full intensity, thus exacerbating the dog's fear. Even if flooding was to be correctly applied, I would pretty much never recommend it, because there are better procedures that do not require scaring the heck out of the dog. Additionally, both people and dog behavior modification specialists would never recommend these exposure techniques in isolation as the single solution to address behavior. Here's a few things that have been scientifically demonstrated and that relate to the risks associated with using flooding. Flooding can be traumatic and result in serious detrimental side effects such as learned helplessness. The dog learns that their behavior does not matter and has no effect in the environment, and this results in a decrease in the previous response. If later the dog is offered the option to leave or avoid the fearful stimulus, the dog will often continue unresponsive and show minimal behavior of any kind. The dog has basically given up. The dog has given up on trying to operate or behave in their environment. Learned helplessness can be generalized to other situations beyond the intended target situation. After flooding procedures, the dog might behave very still and cautious in a whole range of different situations. There is also evidence that serious collateral physiological side effects can occur with these procedures. With any non-human animal species, dogs included, it is often hard to effectively evaluate when emotional and physiological responses have ceased, and thus the behavioral problem can worsen instead of improving. From a clinical point of view, flooding is one among many methods of exposure therapy. These therapies can be considered for people suffering from PTSD, OCD, panic disorder, and other anxiety disorders. Here's the bit that is most important for us. These therapeutic methods are guided by and decided by highly trained and certified professionals. It is also a highly regulated process. These procedures are not prescribed by self-taught people with, quote, years of experience. Dogs aren't so lucky. They often get incorrect applications of exposure therapy delivered by uneducated and self-taught dog trainers, many of them not even aware of what flooding is and what the associated risks are. If I was looking for help with a certain fear, I would not trust someone that is self-trained and without formal education. Would you? Before we continue on this journey, could you please click the like button under the video? That's a great way to reinforce me for the many hours I spent researching this topic. So, as for those popular dog TV shows and videos showing impressive transformations in a short amount of time, what did we learn? Well, we now know what's really going on. The dog that looks transformed to the untrained eye is often in a state of learned helplessness and has not been helped in any way. So, what is the solution then? For me, almost always, desensitization and counter-conditioning will be much better tools to change the behavior of our dogs without the numerous problems listed earlier. I have been training dogs for many years now. I am yet to encounter a situation in which flooding would be the first, second, or third thing that goes through my brain in order to address a behavioral problem. Not only that, but I often will consult with or refer dog cases to other professionals that are better trained and educated to deal with them. If you have watched the video to this point, could you leave me a comment below with the keyword counter-conditioning? Lots of additional resources and ways to contribute to the content that I offer here on YouTube will be available in the description under the video. Getting in touch with a behavior consultant with formal education should be your first consideration to address dog behavioral problems. Also, I would read this book here, link in the description. With all that said, let me just take a moment here to confess that I am not saying that certified professionals that avoid fear-inducing procedures manage to avoid flooding all the time. A training plan can and should be designed to try to avoid flooding, but sometimes unexpected things happen. Or perhaps the dog is at a stage in their progression that differs from our previous understanding. The main difference is that these professionals will be aware of it and adjust the training plan accordingly. Probably, they will include some form of systematic desensitization and counter-conditioning. I hope that this information helps to explain why a lot of the flashy dog behavioral information available online is inaccurate and outright dangerous. If you want to support the work that I do here, why don't you buy me a coffee? It is super easy, link in the description below. Hey, do you want to see a full explanation of desensitization and counter-conditioning? You've got it right here. Obrigado, malta. Até a próxima.